First contact miscalculation. The command deck of the Xarlian warship Imperial Fist hummed with quiet efficiency. Grand Admiral Zoran Krex stood with his 4 arms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin gleaming under the blue-tinted lights. The massive viewscreen before him displayed the vastness of space, dotted with stars that rightfully belonged to the Xarlian Empire. For 3,000 cycles, the Xarlians had dominated this sector of the galaxy. Their quantum drives were unmatched, their plasma cannons feared across a dozen star systems. Lesser species knew to bow or be obliterated. This was the natural order. The strong ruled, the weak submitted. Grand Admiral called Lieutenant Vex from the sensor station, her violet eyes widening. Unidentified vessel entering the perimeter defense zone. Krex's facial ridges tightened in annoyance. Another Trelgarian trader ignoring border protocols. No, sir. Vex's fingers danced across the holographic interface. The configuration is unknown. It matches nothing in our database. This was unusual enough to pique Krex's interest. He strode to the central platform, his ceremonial cape billowing behind him. Display. The view screen shifted to show a sleek vessel unlike any Krex had seen before. It lacked the crystalline structures of Mavorian ships or the organic curves of Wendari design. Instead, it possessed a utilitarian elegance, matte black with minimal illumination, angular but somehow graceful. Origin, Krex demanded. Science Officer Tellara stepped forward, her slender form draped in the silver robes of the Knowledge Guild. Unlike most Xarlians, who prized physical dominance, Tellara's strength lay in her formidable intellect. Based on trajectory analysis, it originated from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star system. Designation 42,879c. She gestured, and a star chart materialized. It's a system we cataloged but deemed unworthy of contact. The dominant species were pre-spaceflight primitives when we last surveyed. Primitives. Krex snorted, releasing a puff of bioluminescent spores that drifted around his head, a sign of Xarlian amusement. They've barely had time to develop rudimentary interstellar capabilities. Nevertheless, Tellara continued, this is their vessel. The markings indicate they call themselves humans, and their ship the Pathfinder. Krex waved a dismissive hand, a fitting name for those who will soon learn their place, open communications, and prepare the standard subjugation protocols. The communications officer, a young Xarlian named Mrek, attempted to establish contact. Imperial hail sent, Admiral. No response. They probably don't even understand subspace communications, Commander Threll remarked with obvious disdain. Primitives often mistake them for natural phenomena. Krex settled into his command chair. Deploy the welcoming escort. 2 Hunter-class vessels should suffice to guide them into the reception bay. The bridge crew efficiently carried out his orders. 2 sleek, predatory ships detached from the Imperial Fist, their engines glowing emerald as they accelerated toward the human vessel. Sir, Tellara said quietly, I recommend caution. My preliminary scans show unusual energy readings from their ship. Your concern is noted, Science Officer, Krex replied, not bothering to hide his condescension. But I've overseen first contact with 17 species. This will be no different. The hunter vessels approached the human ship, positioning themselves on either side as per standard procedure. The human vessel is altering course, Lieutenant Vex reported suddenly. It's accelerating. Krex frowned. They're fleeing. How disappointing. No, sir. Vex's voice carried a note of confusion. They're heading directly toward us, increasing speed. On the view screen, the Pathfinder had indeed changed vector, now moving with purpose toward the Imperial Fist. Its previously dark hull began to illuminate with lines of blue energy that pulsed rhythmically. They're powering weapons, Commander Threll asked incredulously. The audacity. Scan those energy signatures, Krex ordered, his amusement turning to irritation. Tellara bent over her console, then straightened with an uncharacteristic expression of alarm. "Admiral, those aren't weapon signatures. I don't know what they are. The energy pattern doesn't match anything in our records." "Impossible," Krex declared. "Our database contains every known technology in the charted galaxy." Before Telara could respond, the Hunter vessels moved to intercept the approaching human ship. "Hunter 1 reports they're issuing final warnings," Mrek announced. "The human vessel is not responding to communication attempts. Hunter 1 is preparing to disable their propulsion systems." The view screen showed the Hunter vessels positioning for attack, their weapon ports opening to reveal the sickly green glow of plasma cannons. What happened next stunned everyone on the bridge into silence. As the Hunters fired their warning shots, carefully calibrated to pass near the human vessel without damaging it, the Pathfinder changed. Its hull seemed to ripple, the blue energy lines intensifying. The plasma bolts, which should have passed harmlessly by, instead curved toward the ship as if attracted by some unseen force. But rather than impacting, the energy weapons were simply absorbed. The blue lines on the Pathfinder's hull pulsed brighter for a moment, then returned to their previous intensity. "What did we just witness?" Krex demanded, rising from his chair. Telara's fingers moved frantically across her console. "They appear to have some form of energy absorption field. Our weapons aren't damaging them. They're fueling them." "Preposterous," Commander Threll sputtered. "No species has mastered that technology. Even our best scientists theorize it's impossible." "Hunter 1 is firing again," Vex reported. "Full offensive barrage." The view screen showed multiple plasma bolts streaking toward the Pathfinder. Once again, the strange field activated, drawing in and absorbing the energy. Then the human vessel responded. A pulse of blue energy, the same color as the lines on its hull, shot forth from the Pathfinder. It wasn't directed at either Hunter vessel, but instead at the space between them. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, space itself seemed to fold. Both Hunter vessels were suddenly much closer together than they had been, their hulls nearly touching. Their pilots, trained for combat, but not for violations of physical law, swerved desperately to avoid collision. One succeeded. The other did not. The bridge of the Imperial Fist watched in stunned silence as one of their elite Hunter vessels spun out of control, its port side crumpled from impact with its sister ship. "Did they just?" Commander Threll couldn't even finish his sentence. "They manipulated space-time," Telara whispered, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her alarm. "Localized gravitational distortion. We've theorized about it, but never." Krex slammed a fist on his armrest. "Enough. All weapons lock on that vessel. Prepare main battery for full discharge." "Sir," Telara protested, "we don't understand their capabilities. If they can manipulate gravity, they are in violation of Imperial space and have damaged an Imperial vessel," Krex growled. "The response will be appropriate." As the Imperial Fist's weapon systems came online, the Pathfinder finally broke its silence. A communication request flashed on Rek's console. "They're hailing us," he reported, surprised. On screen, Krex ordered, composing himself. First contact protocols dictated that he present the face of Imperial authority and discipline. The view screen shifted to show the interior of the human vessel. Unlike the Xarlian bridge with its tiered design emphasizing hierarchy, the human command center appeared flat and circular, with workstations arranged in a collaborative pattern. At the center stood a human figure, smaller than Krex had expected, with no apparent natural defenses. No claws, minimal physical mass, dull teeth. The being wore a simple dark uniform with minimal ornamentation. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth vessel Pathfinder," the human spoke, their voice translated by the ship's computers. "We apologize for the misunderstanding with your escort vessels. We were attempting to demonstrate our defensive capabilities without causing harm." Krex's facial ridges contracted in anger. "You have entered Imperial territory without permission, ignored official communications, and damaged an Imperial vessel. Prepare to be boarded and your technology confiscated in the name of the Xarlian Empire. The human, Captain Chen, showed no sign of fear. Instead, they merely raised an eyebrow. Admiral, I don't believe you're in a position to make demands. We've been observing your empire for some time, and we came prepared for this encounter. The technology you just witnessed is merely one of many advancements we've developed. The camera view widened to show more of the Pathfinder's bridge. Humans of various appearances worked at different stations, all watching the exchange with calm attentiveness. Perhaps, Chen continued, you'd like another demonstration before you decide your next move. The human nodded to someone off-screen, and suddenly alarms blared throughout the Imperial Fist. Admiral, Lieutenant Vex cried out. Multiple power fluctuations throughout the ship. Weapons systems are cycling down. Engines are reducing to minimal output. Override. Krex roared. I can't. Vex replied, panic evident in her voice. Something is interfacing with our systems at a level I've never seen. On the view screen, Captain Chen's expression remained neutral. We've temporarily accessed your ship's systems as a precautionary measure. No permanent damage has been done, I assure you. Krex's scales darkened with rage, the Xarlian equivalent of a flush. This is an act of war. No, Chen replied firmly. This is a request for mutual respect. We've disabled your weapons, but your life support and communications remain fully functional. We're not here to fight. Admiral, we're here to talk. The Xarlian bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans, supposedly primitives, had neutralized the pride of the Imperial fleet without firing a shot. What happens next, Captain Chen said, leaning slightly forward, is entirely up to you. Humanity's response. Captain Maya Chen maintained her composed demeanor, but internally, she was calculating every variable of this precarious first contact. Behind her, the bridge crew of the Pathfinder executed their roles with practiced precision, the culmination of humanity's secret 3-decade preparation for extraterrestrial engagement. Lieutenant Park, she said without turning. Status of our defensive systems. Energy absorption at 78% capacity, Park replied from the tactical station. Gravitational manipulators ready for another deployment if necessary. Quantum intrusion protocols maintaining access to Xarlian systems. Chen nodded slightly. Humanity had discovered the Xarlian Empire quite by accident. A deep space probe detecting their communications 15 years ago. Rather than announcing themselves immediately, Earth's united governments had made the controversial decision to observe and prepare. It had been the right call. Their militaristic, hierarchical, and expansion-oriented Security Chief Rodrigo Santos commented quietly from her right. Classic imperial structure. They only respect strength. Then we'll speak their language, Chen replied, while offering a better alternative. On the view screen, the Xarlian Admiral's rage was evident even across species barriers. His scaled skin had darkened to a deep purple, and bioluminescent particles swirled around his head in agitated patterns. You cannot possibly maintain control of an Imperial warship, Admiral Krex declared. Our redundancy systems will purge your intrusion momentarily. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Your confidence is misplaced, Admiral. Dr. Lakshmi, would you explain to our new acquaintances? Dr. Indira Lakshmi stepped forward. As Earth's leading xenotechnologist, she had spent years reverse engineering the fragments of alien technology recovered from a crashed scout ship in the Atacama Desert. Your systems are designed with 17 levels of security protocols. Dr. Lakshmi explained, her voice carrying the subtle lilt of her Mumbai upbringing. The 18th level we implemented bypasses them all by operating on quantum principles your technology acknowledges but doesn't monitor. It's like having a door with many locks, but we simply removed the hinges. The science officer behind Krex, the one Chen had noted as more thoughtful than the others, stepped forward with evident fascination. Quantum entanglement communication. But the power requirements would be prohibitive using your methodologies. Lakshmi finished with professional courtesy. We took a different approach. Chief Engineer Marcus Wu joined the conversation from his station. Your technology relies on antimatter containment for energy production. Elegant but inefficient. We developed quantum vacuum extraction instead. Unlimited energy with minimal hardware footprint. Chen watched the Xarlian officers exchange glances. Good, let them understand the technological gap wasn't just a bluff. Admiral Krex, Chen said, redirecting the conversation. Humanity has no interest in conquest or subjugation. Unlike your empire, we don't believe advancement requires domination. Yet you have violated our sovereignty and disabled our vessels. Krex countered, though his tone had moderated slightly. A precautionary measure, Chen replied. Your standard first contact protocols involve forced submission or elimination. We've observed this 7 times with other species you've encountered. We chose to demonstrate our capabilities immediately to avoid unnecessary conflict. The Xarlian science officer whispered something to Admiral Krex, who seemed reluctantly persuaded. What do you propose, human? Krex asked. Chen straightened in her chair. This was the moment everything hinged on. The reason Pathfinder had been dispatched instead of a fleet. A simple exchange. We restore full control of your systems and withdraw from your territory. In return, you acknowledge humanity as a sovereign power and establish diplomatic channels for future interaction. And if we refuse? Krex challenged. Chen's expression remained unchanged, but her voice cooled several degrees. Then before we depart, we'll upload our quantum intrusion protocols to every species the Xarlian Empire has subjugated. Your technological advantage would vanish overnight. The threat hung in the vacuum between the ships. Chen had no desire to destabilize an entire interstellar empire. The resulting chaos would benefit no one. But Krex didn't need to know that. You would risk galactic war? Krex asked incredulously. We would prevent one, Chen corrected, by creating a balance of power. The Xarlian bridge erupted in hissed conversations. Chen waited patiently, knowing her crew was prepared for any outcome. If diplomatic efforts failed, the Pathfinder had 3 more technological surprises that would ensure their safe return to Earth. Finally, Krex spoke. The Empire does not negotiate with. Sir, the science officer interrupted, an apparently shocking breach of protocol based on the reactions of other Xarlians. May I address the humans directly? After a moment of tense silence, Krex nodded curtly. I am Science Officer Tellera. She introduced herself, stepping forward. Your technology suggests solutions to theoretical problems we've grappled with for centuries. There is much our civilizations could learn from each other. Chen recognized the olive branch for what it was. We agree, Science Officer Tellera. Knowledge exchange would benefit both our peoples. Knowledge is power, Chief Santos whispered in Chen's ear. Are we sure about this? Chen gave an almost imperceptible nod. Humanity had debated this exact scenario extensively. The consensus had been clear. Isolation was no longer an option, and technological hoarding would only lead to eventual conflict. Admiral Krex, Chen addressed the Xarlian commander again. We're transmitting coordinates for a neutral location where our representatives can meet in 30 of your cycles. This will give both sides time to prepare for formal diplomatic relations. Krex's facial ridges contracted in what Chen's sinocultural training suggested was calculation rather than aggression. The Imperial Council will need to be consulted, he finally said. But I will recommend accepting these terms. Chen understood the concession for what it was, the most face-saving option available to the Admiral. Excellent. As a gesture of good faith, we're now returning control of your systems. Lieutenant Park confirmed with a nod that the quantum intrusion had been withdrawn. On the view screen, the Xarlians visibly relaxed as their consoles returned to normal operation. One final matter, Chen added. We're transmitting medical assistance protocols to your damaged vessel. Your crew should be able to stabilize their ship within the hour. This clearly surprised the Xarlians. Admiral Krex's scales lightened slightly, a sign of emotional shift. You're Assistance is noted, Captain Chen, he said stiffly. Humanity believes in reaching out with an open hand. Admiral, Chen replied. We hope that in time, your empire will come to see the benefits of cooperation over conquest. The communication ended, and Chen allowed her rigid posture to relax slightly. They're maintaining position, Captain, reported Navigator Lai from the helm. No weapons activation detected. Take us out, 1/4 power, Chen ordered. Maintain defensive posture until we're clear of the system. As the Pathfinder smoothly turned and accelerated away from the Imperial warship, Dr. Lakshmi approached Chen's chair. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? She asked quietly. Chen watched the stars streak by on the view screen. They'll keep it because it benefits them to learn what we know. But they'll also be preparing in case we become a threat. And aren't we doing exactly the same? Asked Chief Santos with a raised eyebrow. Chen nodded. The difference is our definition of threat. We don't fear their existence, only their aggression. The Pathfinder continued its journey home, having accomplished its mission. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, not with conquest or submission, but with a firm hand and an open mind. What came next would depend on whether the Xarlian Empire could adapt to a new paradigm, one where strength didn't have to mean dominance, and where differences could become opportunities rather than threats. As Earth came into view on the long-range sensors, Chen allowed herself a genuine smile. Humanity had taken its first true step into a much larger universe, carrying with them the best of what they were: resourceful, innovative, compassionate, and, when necessary, formidable. The stars stretched before them, full of possibilities.